Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Ledwell and this is the Inspiration Show. Today on the show we're going to be talking about yoga therapy. My special guest is going to be doing a little deep dive on that and to talk about, the health benefits and who actually can benefit from yoga therapy and what that looks like. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that if you are watching this show live on Facebook or if you're watching it a little later on our YouTube channel, don't forget that after the show is over, just click the link below this video so you can take our 30-second quiz so we can figure out what's holding you back from success and help you power through that. So please let me help me introduce welcome my guest today, Jennie Lee. How are you, Jennie?
I'm doing great, thanks. Great to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, now you're also the author of a new book called True Yoga.
I am.
Which we're going to talk about today. Lovely, great product placement there. That's fantastic. But what we, in the nature of the show, what we normally do is get you to tell us your story first. Like, have you always done yoga, or is this something that you got into later in life? Like, how did you get into doing this type of work?
Sure. I have been practicing yoga for almost 20 years. I got involved with the physical practice first, and like so many things in life, we're attracted to something physically first, and then in order for that relationship to deepen, we get to know it on a little bit different, more spiritual, more emotional level. And it was during some times of some deep loss and grief in my life that I dove deeper into the yoga philosophy end of things and started studying the Yoga Sutras. And so in that time, I found teachings that really brought me tools to work with the challenges that I was facing in my own life. And that prompted me to then develop my practice of yoga therapy, which I've been offering to clients for about the last 17 years. And it's been an amazing honor to work with people as they go through all the challenges that we do as human beings, the changes of career, the deaths of loved ones, the major stressors of life, children leaving the home, and everything that humans go through. And yoga really, I just have found that it has practices that can really help us find peace and balance no matter what's going on the outside. And so on a daily basis, yoga therapy is what I do. I work with clients one-to-one and see what they have going on.
All right. So it sounds like the type of yoga you're talking about is different to the, where you get in and it's a sweat box and people are sweating their butts off, which, it's not my favorite kind of yoga. But what it sounds like what you're talking about is something completely different.
It is. It's quite different. I mean, it's different and it's the same. The physical yoga that people are really familiar with is one aspect to the 8-limb path of yoga. And it's a very valuable path because our bodies need to be in good condition. They need to be aligned. But the teachings of the Yoga Sutras say that the reason that we do that, the real reason we get our bodies in alignment is so that we can practice meditation and come into a place of stillness where we can have a perception of ourselves and awareness of our experience of life that is not connected to just all the roller coaster of daily living. The many thoughts and emotions that fly through that we are in constant reaction to, that's only one part of our experience, and that through meditation, we're able to have an experience of ourselves, the greater self, the higher self, in a different way. And so the yoga therapy, just to kind of circle back to how it might differ from the classes that a lot of people walk into, it encompasses lifestyle practices. It encompasses energy management practices that might be through the breath work, but also through other ways in which we exchange energy throughout our days with the world around us. It also encompasses just a coaching in how to find that place of stillness. Meditation is not easy for anyone, even long-term practitioners like myself still struggle. So yeah, it's just a much broader toolbox.
Right. So I know you mentioned earlier the Yoga Sutras. Are they specific, positions that you get into? Just explain a little bit more about those and how important they are.
Yeah, that's a great question. I should have defined that. I'm sorry. So the Yoga Sutras are actually an ancient text, and there are 196 short spiritual teachings, and each sutra is a little teaching. And they range from how to manage our physical bodies to how to manage our minds to how to manage our energy to how to have full experience of enlightenment. So my book, it actually takes just a short portion of those yoga sutras and looks very pragmatically for our modern day living at how those are applicable and ways in which we can practice them, not just when we're on our mats or on our meditation cushions, but really in the comings and goings of daily life with our families and our colleagues.
Right. So do you need to practice this in like a class situation? Like how do you cover these in the book?
I do. So mostly this is an individual practice. When I am working with clients, it's one-to-one, very different than sort of yoga classes. The book definitely steps people through these teachings in a way that they can work at their own pace, and it's not linear. They can kind of pick and choose. Like there are topics on peacefulness or contentment or devotion. And so kind of depending on what you have going on in your life and the things that might feel most inspiring to you, you could dive into a chapter and find exercises or practices to implement right away. Also have affirmations in the back of each chapter so that things to reinforce. I know you know all about that. So reinforce those things that we are trying to create and manifest in our lives. And I think we need all the tools that we can get to make that happen.
Absolutely. So it sounds like with the book, the purpose is to really open people's mind to what the yoga sutras are, but then for them to be able to tailor make a routine that's kind of specific to, you know, what their health issues, what, you know, their situation is in life, you know, and any other, you know, factor that actually affects our energy.
Exactly. That's a great synopsis. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. So so who are the people do you think would benefit the most from the book?
You know, it's so interesting. I've had an amazing diversity of clients. I actually work with people from age 6 to age 94 right now. And it's pretty amazing to see how these teachings kind of follow us throughout our lives, and different things matter more at different stages. But I honestly feel that anyone who is really invested in self-development work could benefit from the book and from the practices of yoga in its bigger picture sense. Obviously, everybody's health conditions are different. Not everyone can go into a typical yoga class and do all the bendy, twisty postures, but anyone who can breathe can do the practices that are in the book. There are very accessible things for people of all health conditions. People who might be struggling with anxiety or stress will find tools that'll be helpful. Yeah, so it's a real broad base.
Right. Awesome. Now, I know that you say you do yoga therapy. So what does that look like?
So on a case-by-case basis, when someone comes in to do a yoga therapy session, we will first talk. It's like any therapy kind of session. We'll talk about what's going on. What are the stressors in their life? What are their challenges? You know, what do they wake up worried about? And my particular focus in yoga therapy is more on the psycho-spiritual end of the spectrum. There are yoga therapists who focus more on physical rehabilitation in the same way that a PT might, because certainly there are yoga movements that help rehabilitate the body in many different ways. And I offer that as well. But many of the clients who find me, I think just because of my personal background in how I came to this work and also my studies in psychology, tend to come in with presenting issues of like anxiety, depression, stress, those kind of things that might be up for them. But so we'll have a little dialogue, and then I will offer some practices, maybe some pranayama, that's like a breath work practice, to help them. Let's say somebody comes in feeling anxiety or they're really ramped up, then we'll do a breath work that will help them to calm down. And then that's a tool that they can take with them and they can utilize on a daily basis, you know, when they're coming and going and they're feeling a little bit anxious. We'll do some movement often to kind of release emotions or tension that is in the body. And then we'll kind of do a synopsis and give them some homework to go. I'm big on homework. Not everybody does it, but they always have it to take home if they'd like to use it.
Right. Because that's the thing. I mean, I think I know we know enough now that if we don't release these emotions, or if we keep things bottled up inside, they do manifest as disease within the body. And so it sounds like through what you teach or the therapy that you use through movement and breathing, we can help to release these emotions and these energy blockages before they manifest into something more sinister.
Exactly. And I think it's important for people to know that they have control over their experience, to a degree. Obviously, there are conditions that might be out of control, but we as averagely functioning human beings do have a lot of control. It takes some work, some effort, some application, but that's one of the teachings of the sutras, is putting in our right effort. And so we do have to show up and do our practice. Yeah. But as long as people know kind of what practices to reach for in certain situations. I mean, take for instance the breath work. There are certain breath techniques that would actually magnify that sense of anxiety if given to someone. That's not good. Like I need to know what effect the different techniques are going to have. So that's the benefit of working one-to-one with a yoga therapist, rather than going into a class where the teacher might offer a bunch of practices, but they might not be right for each person in that class. Certainly somebody suffering from anxiety is not going to want to do a breath retention or a rapid breath. They're going to want to do a slower, more methodical breath that's going to take the parasympathetic nervous system into a state of greater relaxation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. So is there any stories that you can share of people that you've worked with that they've seen like really amazing results from doing yoga therapy?
Gosh, so many over the years. I always kind of reach for the most recent one, but I had a woman come in presenting with anxiety. This seems to be big right now. The world is kind of anxious. Yeah. I
wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. So I do. I have got a lot of clients with anxiety at the moment, but yeah, and she really started to go into almost a full-blown panic attack. And as the coach, I need to be very mindful, very present, and track her experience and help her to be present with that experience in a way that's safe. And so I just kind of came to her level. I started pacing my breath with her breath, which was a little bit accelerated at the time, but sat close with her, placed my hand on her so that she could feel connected. And then I started to regulate my breath so that she could follow me down to a slower pace. And just over the course of, I'd say, 5 minutes, I was able to help her to calm down that sense of real fearfulness and overwhelm that she was experiencing. And then we were able to go into some gentle movement that helped her to kind of release that tension from her body. It's almost like an animal that's been hit and then they stand up and they have to shake it out. Some of the movement can really help us to release that anxiousness. So that was a really nice experience that I had recently.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you're also doing is equipping people with the tools that if they were to feel anxiety or so forth again, that they know exactly what to do with breath and with movement to be able to move through that.
Exactly. It's a very scary feeling. And certainly with anxiety, often comes that feeling like I can't breathe or a constriction of some kind. So just knowing any simple tool to kind of take it down a notch and feel like I can get control of this myself is, I think, very powerful, empowering for people.
Yeah. Well, Jennie, thank you for joining me today. I've never heard of yoga therapy before, so it's been really enlightening for me today. So thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
If people want to connect with you and to get their hands on the book, where can we send them to do that?
Great. So again, the book is True Yoga, Practicing with the Yoga Sutras for Happiness and Spiritual Fulfillment. And my website is jennieleeyogatherapy.com. And it's Jennie with an IE. So jennieleeyogatherapy.com.
Great.
And I work with people all over. So
awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we have a banner and a link here so people that are watching the show can go directly through to that. So thanks again for joining me, Jennie. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much. Great to be with you.
Yeah, no, guys, if you, like I said, if you're watching this on Facebook Live or if you're watching it on the YouTube channel afterwards, don't forget, click on the link, go through to Jennie's site, click on the link below so you can take our 30-second quiz to figure out what's holding you back. And if you are watching this on mymovies.com, don't forget to leave your email so we can send you the Manifesting with the Masters video e-course for free. So until next time, remember to live large, choose courageously, and love without limits. We'll see you soon.